My most used lens in 2023 was the Voigtlander 28mm Ultron version 2, and there's good reason for that. Obviously, number one, it's an amazing lens. It's built super well. Honestly, as far as I'm concerned, it seems pretty indistinguishable from my Leica lenses. And it's small, it's lightweight, it's extremely high performing. And I just want to talk a little bit about it because it really is, I think, one of the best. I think it's probably one of the best Voigtlander lenses that exist out there in terms of value, but I would honestly argue that it's maybe one of the best Leica M mount lenses for the value. And so I'm just going to get into a few reasons why, et cetera, et cetera. As someone who consumes a lot of YouTube and who's very involved in sort of the street community, I have definitely noticed a surge in popularity in the 28mm focal length. I myself have never really been a 28mm shooter. Historically, I would say that I shoot mostly 35 and 50. And it was really the Leica Q2M that sort of drew me to 28mm. And I had honestly struggled shooting 28mm in the past. But now I'm very, very much drawn to the look. I really love how you can capture sort of really environmental, creative compositions with a 28mm lens. And I feel like once you get up close with the 28mm lens, it's one of my favorite looks that exist in photography. And I think I'm not alone in that. I think that there's a bunch of people in the street photography community that really appreciate 28mm. And for the Leica M mount, there just really hasn't been that many crazy options. You know, usually with 35, there's a bunch of different Voigtlander 35s, bunch of different TT Artisan 35s. But with the Leica M mount, for some reason, there's a handful. And that's really the Voigtlander Ultron series, a couple TT Artisan options. There are some 7 Artisan options. And then there are obviously the Chron and the Summilux. And so the Ultron kind of fits a really unique position, I think, in that it is every bit as good as a Summicron in my mind. I really, really don't see any difference in terms of image quality. This lens is extremely high performing. Sharpness is amazing. Ultimately, they're very, very comparable. You're not really gonna be able to tell a huge difference other than maybe a little bit of the Leica magic that you get in Leica lenses. I honestly don't really have any complaints at all about this lens. The only thing that kind of bugs me, and it's super personal, is that it focuses down to 0.5 meters. And sometimes when I'm on the street and I want to zone focus, it just kind of confuses my brain a little bit. But honestly, if you're a digital shooter and you have live view, that 0.5 meters would be awesome for you. So I have various Leica lenses and I have owned various TT Artisan, various Voigtlander lenses. And I think this is the best value, definitely the best value 28mm in Leica. There are obviously the collectors who buy the best Leica gear, the most rare, and they're not necessarily shooting it every day. Maybe they are, maybe they're kind of doing both. And most of the time, you're obviously going to be steered much more towards a Leica lens or a Leica body because they tend to often appreciate in value. And it's just obviously a better investment in the long term. But then there are people who actually shoot Leica every single day and are really looking for a lens that they'll use and abuse and aren't necessarily looking for like something with a better resale value, etc. And I think that this lens is for that person, that second person who is really looking for like a workhorse lens that's amazing, extremely high performing, and just can be used until basically the end of time. I think it's every bit as good in terms of build quality as Leica. I think that it is obviously as fast as the Summicron. It is significantly less expensive. And that's not to say, you know, Summicron's an amazing lens. I'm not here to hate on Summicron. One of my favorite lenses of all time is the 35mm f2 Summicron. I own one. I love it. It's amazing. They're amazing lenses. They hold their value. And they do maybe have a little bit of a Leica look, a little bit of magic that you can appreciate. But I know that not everybody is in a position to just drop, you know, $5,000 on one lens. That's crazy to assume that everyone can do that. Even if you can, but you just need a lens that you want to shoot and actually make incredible images with. I honestly think you should look at the Voigtlander 28mm Ultron. It really is one of the best lenses that I've ever used. And in terms of, you know, maybe reselling in the future, like for instance, I just bought this lens a little over a year ago. It was, I think, something like $1,300 to $1,400 Canadian after taxes and things like that, shipping, whatever. And I'm actually going to be selling this lens for $600 US dollars, but I'll probably net, let's say, $550. So that's like, you know, 800 and some dollars Canadian. So they don't hold their value quite like a Leica does, but I don't feel like I lost that much money at all. It's literally like new. When I look at it, it looks like it was just purchased yesterday, and I've used it a lot. It's still, you know, perfectly smooth. It focuses extremely well. I literally have zero complaints about this lens. The only reason that I'm selling it is because I'm covered with my Leica Q2M with the 28 Summilux, and I mostly, on M bodies in particular, I mostly shoot 35 and 50 because I just like seeing the frame lines in the rangefinder. Whereas with a 28, if you have a 0.72 times magnification viewfinder, it's hard to sort of see the frame lines. Now my eyes are getting old. I have glasses, and sometimes I'm wearing them, sometimes I'm not. And when I am wearing them, I can't see the frame lines at all. And I just like the experience of seeing the frame lines. And so that's literally the only reason I'm selling it. There's no point in holding on to something that you're not going to use as much. I have a 35 Chron, a 35 Lux, and a 50 Chron. And that's what I need. That's all I need for my M's. And then I obviously have the Q2M. So that's the only reason I'm selling it. Honestly, if I had a 0.58 times magnification viewfinder camera, I would 100% keep this lens. This is the first Voigtlander lens that I've ever owned where I have never wondered, what about the Leica version of that lens? Not once have I ever wondered it. I've used the 28mm Summicron. I have a friend who has one, and it's a great lens. I've also used the 28 f2.8 Elmerit, which is also another great lens. Some people hate it, but I actually really like that lens. It's extremely small. I would look at either getting the Elmerit or the slightly faster Ultron version 2 if it were me. Let's say I'm selling this in like new condition for $500-600 US dollars. You can probably get it new. I think new it was like $900 it retails for. That is insane. Like the difference between buying a new Summicron and a new Voigtlander is like, we're talking like $4,000+ or something crazy like that. And it just doesn't seem worth it to me unless, you know, you are a collector, unless you just have the means to do it and just enjoy having the Leica M mount lenses. But when we're talking about strictly optical performance, there is nothing that this lens can't do that the Summicron can do. I genuinely believe that wholeheartedly. And I wouldn't say that about the 35 Noctin Voigtlander or other Voigtlander lenses in other focal lengths. Obviously, you know me, I'm not a super technical guy. I really just measure lenses based on how I feel when I see the images that I take with them. This lens, it has been my most used lens for the past year, especially on M systems. But at the end of the day, it's really just kind of been sitting there for the past 2 months since I got the 35 Chron back in my life. I'm a one lens pony. You know what I mean? Like I like having one lens on my M bodies. So I have my M9, I have this camera, and I like to just keep one lens on it. And so I have the 35 Summilux, and then I have the 35 Summicron, and they just live on both of those cameras. And then every now and then I'll take my 50 rigid out because I love the 50 look. I love the rigid. Voigtlander, you killed it. Once again, incredible alternative to the expensive Leica options that we have. I just hope you continue making more awesome lenses. Maybe give us a Noctin for the 28, but just keep the size down, you know, because that's what's fun about Leica lenses is that they're small. And so I just hope that if you are making a Noctin in the future, that it stays sort of small, whatever, who cares. Anyways, that's it. I just wanted to talk about how much I love this lens. I really think it's an incredible lens, and I think it shouldn't be overlooked if you're in the market for a 28mm lens for the Leica M mount. Here are some sample images. Okay, bye.
Así te vi, mujer pa' mí, pelo que florece, flor así, muy bella y la mujer, infierno vi, fuego así, quemándome, mi pasión calentó, luego que para comer, su fruto me recordó de su olor, muy dulce sí, esa mujer, te quiero ver, va a ser amor, corazón.